One more check. Can you hear me, John?
Yep, I
All
gotcha.
right. All right. Getting started. Thanks for joining tonight. Um, Want to talk a bit about the Google Maps API, specifically the JavaScript library that they provide, and some of the tooling, some of the common tooling you might find and use in a web application. So, agenda for tonight, we'll go over the basics of the Google Maps platform, review their different sets of APIs, and then lastly we'll plug it into a Rails 7 application using Stimulus.js for the JavaScript. So when you look at Google Maps, whether you use the API or the SDKs, depending on what type of development you're doing. If you're doing mobile development, you're probably using an SDK, but if you're doing web development, you'll probably use the JavaScript API. So they have 4 sets of APIs. Most common ones you'll probably use are the maps and the places. Map is, rendering maps, rendering street view, any imagery that is associated with that. Routes is for directions, doing distance calculations, that kind of thing. Places, that's going to be search, geocoding, and address validation. So you ever go to Google Maps and you type in, Publix or something, and it tries to show you, the closest one to you. That's the Places API you can use. And then the last one is some environment/air quality data you can get. So I actually brought up their API list. It shows the more comprehensive list of what's going on. So you can click into each of these and see, pick your API of choice, and dig into it, and tells you what it does, different features, and then if you dig into these more, you'll end up at more concrete documentation for the APIs, tells you how to use each of these things. Very good documentation, lots of examples. So we'll walk through a few of these tonight. So doing basic stuff with map rendering, first thing you'll need to do if you're using this is set up a Google developer account. When you do so, you'll have to select which APIs you want to enable, and there's different ones in there for Google Maps. I think it'd be specific whether you're using like maps or places or routes. You add those to your Google account, and some of them are free, some of them are not. So that helps track your consumption of them, and then you just take the API key and you add it to your application. In a web app, you'll have to add the library through some mechanism if you're using. I believe if you're using React, there's an npm package out there for it, but most of the documentation you see from Google just has you adding it as a source in a script tag. So we'll follow that tonight. And then for rendering a map, you'll add an empty HTML element. You give it an ID, and then you pass that along to the JavaScript library. So we'll look at their example for that here. So here we rendered a simple map. It's fully interactive. You can zoom in. You can even drop into a street view if you want. Basically your normal Google Maps experience. And then you scroll down, they have the HTML and the JavaScript. So the HTML is, basically just the empty div. And then the JavaScript, they have an initializer that you're supposed to call this right after you've loaded the JavaScript. In this case, they've defined the function and called it. imported this map object and then instantiated it with the map element. This takes various configs here. They've given it a map center area and a zoom level. So what you saw in that example was a road map type. Other types you can render a satellite, which is just a pure satellite view. More commonly, you might see hybrid, which is actually, I think you see by default when you go to Google Maps, you see roads overlaid onto a satellite view, and you can also do a terrain map, which is like a 3D map that shows elevation and other things like that. Markers, these are pins that you'll often display on a map. So if you're looking at a map of locations that are defined, you'll want to add these to show those locations, and you can make your map interactive, where you can place your own pins, or you can just have more static, where it just displays pins that are based on data. And these markers can respond to events, and you can even custom style them. So here they have an example where they've already placed a marker on a map, and that's not interactive. You can just zoom in to see where it is. And the markup's pretty much the same as the last example. The only difference is after instantiating the map, we instantiate the marker, we provide the map object that we just created and the exact position of that marker. So info windows, these are essentially modules that you can use on a map. They're often used with markers. So if you have a marker and you want to click on it, you can have one of these come up and present more information. These are fully stylable with HTML and CSS, but it's nice they have a close button that they provide on the top, so you don't have to style that part of it. So looking at that example, same thing, they've given us a marker, but now you see we hover over the marker. It has a little preview thing, tells it with a little title on it, and if we click on it, we get the info window, which this is all just HTML in this case. You can style it as well if you have CSS classes, and here they give you a little close button so you can have an open and close state. And down here we've basically defined a content string, which is just HTML. We've instantiated an info window. Now at this point it's not actually attached to anything, but we're just defining it, defining an info window with its content. And then later on they define the marker, and then when there's a clip listener added to the marker that opens the window, and then we tell it which map we want to put it on, and then also the anchor point. So I think if you don't provide an anchor point, it'll probably just come up in the middle of the map. So these are, as you saw in the last example, there's events that Google Maps elements can respond to. That was a click event we just saw. You can also have like double click and zoom and change. So you just basically add listener, call back to any of those elements, and there's documentation around that as well. And then on the, so everything we just covered there was mostly the Google Maps the actual map rendering API, the library. This in particular is getting into a separate API for geocoding. So geocoding is if you have a street address and you want to get the coordinates of that street address, Google Maps has a whole database for that. So you're basically doing a search. You give it the address, and then you can actually get back a set of matching. Actually, no, I'm thinking the other way around. You give it an address, and you get back the closest coordinates that it can find. So that's good if you want to validate that an address is correct. You can use that to get the location and ensure that this location really exists. Reverse geocoding is when you want to go from latitude, longitude coordinates to a street address, which is a little more tricky because if you get the coordinates of the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, you're not going to get anything. But if you put it on top of your house, you'll actually get your address. With reverse geocoding, you usually get a set of possible matches. So you usually take the set and you grab either the first, or if you're confident, or you try to sort through it in some mechanism to find the best match. I found this part's usually done on the back end, so the last thing we looked at were map rendering, but this is something that we're handling data here, so we probably don't want to expose the API keys that are open for geocoding to our front end. This is something that's usually pretty locked down on the back end. So their example here, they do it on the front end, and they just have a map where you can put in. You just have a little search bar here, and then you can put in anything. You just say, Jacksonville, and pick a location, and it takes the address and it gives you the latitude, longitude off of that. The Places API, this is similar to what we just saw, but this is specifically searching for landmarks or stores and businesses. But you can also search for anything down to an address with it. And this is good if you want to get a place and then do some other things with it. If you want to, you can use it in place of an address entry, and it has multiple usages. But this is just for basically a search field. So you get this little autocomplete here. You can just do the same thing, and just do New York City, for instance, and you can be as specific or as vague as you want. You can even just put, Florida in here, for instance, and it'll try to just drop you in the middle of it. And then there's code here for setting up the autocomplete and basically attaching it to an input on your form. And in response to that, you get this place change callback, which then you can use to get the place result. The place result's when you do a search and then you click on a result, that's what this is. And then you can get the location, which is a latitude, longitude coordinates. I believe that's some other data too, but usually you get the latitude, longitude. That's a quick overview of the Google Maps ecosystem. Any questions so far? Anything that I should dig more into at all?
Yeah.
All right. So now I'm going to go over a small Rails application and show how some of this is integrated live. This is a Rails 7 app with Stimulus.js, so it's pretty close to vanilla, but I'll try to explain the things where it deviates. There's a lot of JavaScript classes and stimulus where things are essentially categorized. So I'm on the wrong branch. Go back to main, and then we'll do Rails S, get a server going. And zip controls out of the way. I do wish there was a way to totally minimize this.
Like the top is. Is there anything a little more?
I'll probably want to get rid of this first instead. Do that. And just hide it. Well, we'll do this for now. I'll actually see if I can. Yeah. So here we have a list of essentially locations. We're calling it a pizza deliveries application. The idea is you place a request for pizza, you give it the location you want it delivered at, and then hopefully you get pizza. So here we're just showing city, state, along with the pizza type, size, and crust. I have about, how many pages here do I have? And 7 pages of results. So yeah, this is going to get in the way, actually, over here. So we go to our new form here. Pretty straightforward. You select the pizza information, but caveat here, we want to know not only the address, we want to know the exact location. So, and kind of as a way to ensure that we know where we want the pizza to be delivered, not just the, if I would put in like 101 Main Street and that doesn't exist, for instance, then that would be weird. So, this particular form requires latitude and longitude, so I'm just going to make up something here. I have no idea where this is going to place. Florida. I should be able to create that entry, right? But we don't know. We just had to manually input the latitude and longitude. That's not a friendly user experience. And not to mention here, we can't really visualize all these locations very well. We try to guess where they are, but we can provide a better user experience with Google Maps. So I'm going to switch to my next branch, is rendering map. I should be able to just refresh this and see a map. So this is basically doing the same thing we saw on the first slide, where we're just rendering a map and we can interact with it, go into satellite view and whatnot. But we haven't done anything yet. But let's start going over the markup here. So this is going to be pizza deliveries, index HTML, and we have a div and a div within that. This data controller is telling Stimulus.js that we want to use this controller, pizza deliveries index map. All of our JavaScript is going to be contained in there, and then this is a data attribute that contains our API key, and then this div will actually become our map later on, one of the JavaScript renders. So looking at the JavaScript pizza index map controller, I have some logic here that target, which is our map, which is this div, and then map target connected. This is a callback that essentially runs when this map element is rendered on the DOM. So once this is rendered, then this will load. And this is probably a little overcomplicated, but essentially what I'm trying to do here is, instead of rendering it each time on the page, or like in the header tag of the whole application, having to load this every single time, only when we're actually using a map here will we actually create a JavaScript element and append it to the page. Once that is loaded, I'm running this initializer essentially, which now we can use the Google Maps library, grab a map object, create one, centering it in the middle of the US, giving it a zoom level of 4, and I think it has to have an ID tag for some reason. But that's essentially what we're doing here. So now we want to get some locations on here. So I have a branch, we're doing that. Markers. So now it gets a little more exciting. Now we actually see our locations. And if you're curious, these are paginated as well. So as I go through the pages of results, we have different locations. So nothing's changed on our HTML, but on the JavaScript side, I have a fetch call which is going back to our backend, grabbing the same results that we rendered on the page, and then for each result, I'm creating a new element. Now, something about markers, you can instantiate these new markers without rendering them, but they become rendered when you provide it both a map and a position. So you could give it a map and not give it a position, in which case I should be able to just load this and shouldn't throw any errors. So to show that once more, in case you need to work with those objects before rendering them, you can do that. But yeah, essentially we have fairly static pins now. So next thing we want to do with these is be able to click on them and see some information on the info windows. So load up that branch now. Now for each entry where we've created a marker, now generating some content for an info window, and then adding an on-click listener. I think this is actually dead code for me testing, so we don't really need that, but there's a close function, set content, and open. And the reason we're starting with the closed, so in your initial state, it's going to be closed, and the most common user experience is you'll click on one and then you'll close it and then you'll click on another one. But this info window object is actually shared. So we only create one info window. Essentially, it's just tied to, we're associating with the map. We're associating with the pin as well, but we're reusing it every time we open another one. So that's where we're closing it there. No, I didn't even show that yet. And I think I have to restart the server for this one because there's some different backend logic. So now if I hover over one of these markers now, I have a little cursor, which means I can click on it. And then find a little info window of the location, the time we sent it, and the type of pizza. And just to show that it's not just text, it's full markup, I have a link in here which takes me to the show page for that entry. That's most of the enhancements for the index page. I'll come back and show something else on this layer, but now we're gonna start optimizing the form. So to show right now, we have a pretty underwhelming form in terms of location entry. So let's go here and reload this. So now we have a map, and difference with this one now is I can zoom in, and wherever I click, it's going to drop a marker. So I put one there, places it. I can continue clicking elsewhere and place the pin there as well. And you'll see now that I still have address, but I don't have latitude, longitude anymore. Now what's happening here is if I latitude, longitude are here, actually, they're hidden elements now. So if I look at the markup, we see latitude, longitude, and these are being populated whenever I click. So you see they have values now. If I were to come up here and click again, you can actually see that they're changed. We'll go over that code. But essentially, with this, I've removed the requirement to manually enter latitude, longitude. I can now derive that from the map. So I just put Jacksonville here. It doesn't matter really what I put in here. This will still save. So let's take a look at our form. So this is a standard form, but with Rails form helpers. Here we define a data controller feeds deliveries form, giving it our API key, and then we're actually preloading it with latitude and longitude. So this we're on an edit form. It knows it has some initial values for the map. And if we go to pizza deliveries form controller, or JavaScript controller, a lot of the same stuff. We're loading the JavaScript element, initializing the map, and here's where it starts getting interesting. So we've created a marker. We've only attached it to a map, so at this point we haven't rendered it. And then we check if latitude and longitude are already there. So if we visited an edit page, I'll show that real quick actually. So if I go to edit here, we see it's already preloaded with the marker. So that's if it has it already, then we go ahead and set that position. Otherwise, we're going to wait for a click event, and when that happens, we can actually look at the event and see where on the map it was clicked, and so that we'll use that location for the marker. And also, when we do that, we're going to populate these targets, which are the hidden latitude, longitude inputs. So that's great. However, one obvious bug with this is I can put the marker anywhere and then lie about the location. So we want to try to reconcile our address entry or make it more useful. So we'll use the Google Places autocomplete for that. So let's see, what do I name that branch now? For location search. So now I have both the map, and then the location is just a a search now, so we're not relying on the user to enter the entire thing. We can just say, you know, Jacksonville Beach. Hopefully they enter a more accurate location, but you can enter like that, and then you can also just the same drop the pin. So either of these methods will work. You can also say St. Augustine, and it'll put it there. So go ahead and save that one. Just to show those last ones did in fact save. There's our St. Augustine one. But one thing we missed with this one is we got the place from it when we used the search for it, but we didn't capture any of the information from that Google autocomplete result. So that's why the location is showing blank with a comma because of bad formatting, but we actually did capture it. So this yeah, there's a little more going on with this. So using the autocomplete object, our form actually changed too. So now we have the location fields instead of all those address fields we had before. And this is just setting the initial value to city and state if it's present. And then there's data attributes here that do it. So we're calling it a search field in the controller. So here when I'm saying instantiate the autocomplete with the search field target, this is mapping to this search field location input. And then there's some callbacks you have to give it, but what we're mostly interested in is the place change listener. So when you select a result, it's going to run this place changed function. Go down to that. We get the place off the autocomplete. If there's no location, I guess, associated with it, we just return it's not a valid place. If so, and we have it, then we adjust the map to essentially zoom into the location. So we change the bounds of the map, and then we recenter it and set the zoom. And then once the map is adjusted, we replace the marker's position. So if it was already rendered elsewhere, then we'll just change the location. Otherwise, it will render for the first time. And then we set the latitude, longitude. But now we want to fix the location here. So there's a few ways to go about this. We probably could get more information off of this place object, but we're going to assume that we haven't done that, and this will allow me to show off geocoding. So I think we're just going to have to restart the server as well. There's some backend code that changed. So now not much on the front end will have changed here. So nothing at all actually. So the only thing is if I say Daytona Beach, if I save this now, that will save, and we have the location in the info window now as well. So we properly captured that. So now we're going to look at some backend code. So our pizza deliveries controller, this is our backend Rails controller now. We have some logic here where if we create a pizza delivery and it's saved successfully, then we'll run this geocoder object on it. So that's on create and on update. So if I take a look at that, geocoder. So we take the pizza delivery object and use this geocoder library. This is an external library that allows us to search. You just give it the latitude and longitude, and here we're just taking the first result off of it. Now, this is an API wrapper around Google Maps, so to kind of shed some light up how this works, we provided some configs. So in this configuration, we say which service we want to use. This particular library supports multiple map services, so we're using Google, and we're giving it the API key we want to use for that. And just to show their GitHub real quick. Yeah, so geocoding, reverse geocoding. They have some documentation for different types of search, but this is essentially calling out to this geocoding API behind the scenes. So if you don't want to use the library, you don't have to. But for this example, we're using the library and we're getting the first result, and then with that result, we're attempting to update the address information in our database, and that's what allows us to see the location on the front end. Wait, where did it go? Up here. So the last thing I'll show with this is if I'm looking at the map like this, and realistically for this, you're probably looking at a city, right? And you have all these little markers close together. You don't really know which one you're clicking on unless you can kind of figure it out, but it's annoying. So Google Maps provides a clustering mechanism. And this makes the pins look like that. So if they're isolated, you just show the pins. If they're all grouped together, you click on the group, just highlight in blue, and you can keep doing that all the way down until you have pins. And I forget if this one does it or there's another one that does it, but if you actually had multiple pins on the exact same location, I think it would try to spread them out in like a circular pattern, so you can click it and it'll expand, and you can pick which one you actually want to look at. But I've seen that as well. That's pretty much all I had to present on. I will give some credit here. So I read a lot of the documentation, but I also reference this GoRails video a lot here. They talk about rendering maps and using the autocomplete. So they have a lot of good content. I like their content. Any questions? All right.
Like,
Thanks. So I have.
So you can init your controller anywhere outside, and as long as the thing's inside. So where's your data? Your data's on the table. So
Yeah, the data is completely outside.
that's fine. You can init your controller elsewhere. Like you could put your controller init in a div that encapsulates the whole page. Because your target, the only thing that has to be on there is your API key variable.
You're saying the whole thing can be inside.
Yeah, style-wise, you have to see if that works, but data-wise, that would work fine. But you're referencing, so you've got a div with the controller initialization, and then you've got a target for the map. So that seems fine, that's inside. And then the rest of your data could be inside as well. So because you're inside, you have access to the controller. So with each row of data, you could have the coordinates fed right in. So like you could, if you change your controller to have just more targets, like, I don't know, pins or something, you could.
I see what you're saying. So you have like each of these.
Each one of the
Each row
rows
is-
could declare its pin. And then all of your data is then on the page. You're not
I'm not
doing
gonna
anything.
go
Your
back.
stimulus controllers are done. As much as they can be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then I can just I should be able to just iterate through the rows that are already rendered and pull the coordinates off of that.
And then that way you could even do, you know, hotwire things. Like if you create a new one and it updated the page without leaving, as soon as a new element comes onto the page with something it recognizes, the stimulus controller will update and then add the pin.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could even have something. Well, I won't really write it all, but I mean, basically, here what the data frame syntax is, right? So it's that kind of.
Yeah, but you don't even need a param.
You're saying I could
You
just
just
make
have a
like
bunch of targets. Go to your controller. So you have a map target, you could have pins.
like pins as zone.
Yeah, so for every target, there's a plural and a singular. So you can just add a bunch of pin targets.
So the target would the target be called pin or pins?
The target's called pin. You could reference it as pins.
Okay. So when I reference pin target, would that be the list of pins?
So you decide what piece of data you want to give it. So like, let's see, do you want to give it lat long? Like what's the easiest for the map to consume?
No, lat long.
Okay, so maybe you make that a tuple, like you pass it as the 2-element array. So your pin wouldn't be a target. You could. You could add them as values then. Value.
Yeah, so something I often see was like they'll be given to you as a string, so then you might have like, you know, might have had something like it. I'm just making it different now, but I have, you know, 34 blah 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 comma -81 blah blah. Then like you'd parse that as a string and then split it on the comma.
You could just pass it as an object too. Like on your TR, if you just said, what is your controller name? So it would be.
It's as long as actually. So basically, you know,
Yeah, so it'd be pizza deliveries index map, and then you could do like pin value maybe, and then pass it an array.
You're saying that can be. You're saying that could be like the.
It could be pizza delivery lat, pizza delivery long, or however you're storing it.
Yeah, I hear you.
That'll be each individual pin for the
So,
location.
yeah, so what we want to get is the stimulus controller will receive
the array. And then we can iterate through those values and then add them to the map internally.
So pen would be like this dot pen kind of thing for the specific one, and pens would be iterating through the whole
Yeah,
thing.
so it'd be like pin values, I think. We'd have to look up the stimulus dot.
So is that like a string like that? I mean, I put it in a string.
Yeah, it should be fine. So you
Okay.
declare your value in stimulus as an object, and then it will know how to parse that. What?
I think where I'm confused is, I think a target is like almost IDs, like,
Well, target is an element, so
Yeah.
we don't want to target because we want to shovel data in. So pull up the hotwire.dev docs for stimulus.
show me where to go here.
That's a tutorial. Go back. It's hotwire.dev or IO. No, it's not.
This guy,
That one, yeah. So scroll down to stimulus.
look in here.
And then if you go to reference. Okay, so on the side, so there's, what's nice about stimulus is the API is really small. So there's really just, the main things are actions, targets, and values. So if you go to values, it's probably what we want. Can we add a value on everything? It's a param. So value we can add.
Yeah, this is what I did for the API key. That's essentially the
Yeah,
value, but like how do you reference that as like multiple?
Well,
Yeah,
that probably should be a value. You just have it as an attribute or a data param. If you go up, it's not named, right? That's all.
So here they have a controller, loader controller. So loader is the name of the controller, and then URL value is the name of
So
their
it's
value.
name dash value is the convention, and then you can declare the value and then the type. So you would have, API key is string.
Oh, I see. So they actually declare what type it is.
Yeah. How are you referencing that in your controller now? Are you just pulling like the element and data dot?
I mean, I'm just refetching it from the back end.
Oh, yeah, make it a value. You'll just get it for free. So go to the top.
You're saying I need to have like static
Yeah, so you'll have static value.
values.
Values, yeah.
Equals
And it's an object.
an object, and then
It's an API key, it's a string. Okay.
and then we have
So you get some items with values, which is kind of nice. In your case, you won't use them, but you get like change tracking, not tracking, but like callbacks are called when if you stored something and the value changed, you change it in the HTML, it actually informs the controller and you can perform actions on it. But here it's just a free way to get an assessor basically. So now you can reference that as this dot API key value.
I see. So if I have one called, so this would be pin value. So
I don't think that's what we want to do for pins. So let's convert your API key. So where are you referencing that?
that is up top. That is Google API key.
Okay, so you're going to change that to API key dash value. No, you keep that the same. In your HTML, change that to API key dash value. So that's fine now. Okay. So now in your stimulus controller, where are you using Google API key line 21?
Around here.
Oh, line
Yeah.
18? So yeah, you're doing this data get. So this in that context is the element that is, actually no, that's the controller.
It's this is the data on the like this element.
Yeah, that's weird. So usually it's, this is the controller itself, and this dot element is the element that you instantiated the controller on. So then you would say like this dot element dot data. I've never seen this dot data, but clearly it works. So you could get rid of that, and now on line 21, you could just say this dot API key value. Do we have Google API key there?
This dot API key
Value.
value.
No, not dot value. It's actually creating an assessor with a name value. Yeah, there you go. So,
So you're saying that should work.
he's changed some other stuff. I don't know if he broke it in the meantime, but your visualization should work.
Yeah, that works.
So that's values. Trying to think how we would want to add the pin. So basically what you want is in your HTML, every time we iterate over one of those rows, we just want to feed the controller the data. You could call it a pin or location, something like that. And every row, you would add that as a target. And then you could use the callbacks on that. So every time a target is mounted, you could then tell it to look for a piece of data.
Yeah, so like here I have, there's the tier connect or connected, like there's a global level connected.
Yep.
Which is the,
That's when the controller connects.
but then there's the target connector.
Yep.
So if I have target, let's say location is more accurate for what we're describing here. Or it should be pizza delivery, we'll call it location. When a location is mounted, that would be every row,
So let's,
location target,
well, write your HTML first, so let's get it in there.
yeah.
So we know we're gonna call it location.
So, data, pizza, deliveries, index, now target equals, wait, no.
Yeah.
That's right, okay. Equals, location.
Yep.
Actually, that is the wrong one.
That's the header.
That's the header row. So we actually want.
So you're pretty close. So I think we're gonna do something similar.
Comment that out.
So now you'll have targets. You could reference or location targets. Place location targets. That would give you the elements.
So you can have more than one target with the same name.
Yeah, so it just keeps adding to a collection. That's why you have a singular and a plural on every target.
Gotcha.
And you also have, there's like presence methods and stuff, like do you have any targets, stuff like that. Let's go back to the docs. So, and then click on targets on the side there. You can go down a bit. This is just basic stuff. So properties, so here's your singular, plural, and existential. So that'll give us location targets, and has location target.
So this is the first matching target in the scope. So if we did like location target connected, would that, trigger on each one?
I believe so, but let's just we'll keep going through here. Shared, we don't really care about.
Yeah, so they have two targets on here, but checkbox target is on multiple elements. So
that's fine. So here's your callbacks. So every time the page sees one of the targets get matched, it will fire those.
Got it. So if I'm trying to think how this will work. So we'll have a location
Location target connected.
connected. And the only thing I want to walk the only thing that might trip this up is if the map hasn't rendered yet, but we'll,
Well, you can put a guard in for that.
yeah.
Don't worry about it yet. So just add your. So what you can do for now is just start compiling.
Actually, so this map is, yeah, so we just say if this map return, but really we should be able to just create the marker. We're not doing anything with this yet, but so we should be able to say, can we get the actual target in here as an argument?
So you,
Element, yeah.
So so if you pass E to that, you'll get the item.
Now we'll know how it renders. Yeah, so it didn't, that will pose a problem later. Right, so now we have each one,
So I can do every row.
yes.
Keep going in the stimulus docs. So actions have data params, but you should be able to have additional data on your target. Worst case, you could just add it as a data attribute, but I'm pretty sure there's an API for adding data.
You're saying instead,
So we'll essentially want to do that same thing. So for now, without using stimulus, you can just put like data dash coordinate on that and give it that same array,
let's do this.
or you could do that.
Right, so then I can just save that first, and then
So now you
I think it's just-
E data latitude, E data longitude, right
Great.
here will give you something.
make sure that's there. And I've seen data, and I've also seen like get attribute.
So that's a little different.
Yeah, so like that's undefined.
Oh, it's data set, sorry.
Data set.
Yeah.
Gotcha, now I can just get latitude, longitude. Just gonna show those. Right.
So that's one way to do it. And you could finish adding the markers with that implementation. I think there's a more stimulus-y way to do it.
Well, now what's they talk about, not actions, but
So keep going down. Is there more to this page?
that's it.
That's it.
So going back to the values, I mean, I guess this is just like a friendlier way of getting the attributes instead of having to do like this data set or.
So values can only be declared on the element that you initialize the controller. So you gotta be careful with that one. So that won't help you because you're already outside, you're like way down further. So I introduced params, But I believe params are only on actions, so if you take a look at actions.
This sounds familiar, I think that's, actions parameters, yeah.
Parameters, so. Well.
But that's like, yeah, that's like on events.
So, yeah, you're not clicking or anything like that, so you just want the target to loop. I'm curious. Let's see. Action parameters are passed to the submitter element. Follow the format. So usually when you initiate an action and you add param attributes, you get the event. The event has params. So anything you declared comes through on the event. I'm wondering if there's a better way. If params
Yeah,
still
I've seen
work.
this before.
But you're not getting the event back, you're getting the element back, right?
Then you have the event and you just call parameters on it, but that's like.
That's only for actions, though. But yeah, but declaring it as a data attribute works too.
Yeah, so you get the element and then it's
Just
the
using the
data.
data set. I just thought there was a more seamlessy way to do it. But you can
Yeah,
add it.
I'll think about this one because there's a race condition now where the JavaScript is for maps isn't loaded yet, so I have to like put this
So
in a state.
why is that?
Because the map target is connected along with the when we render the map target, then we add the JavaScript and then that loads asynchronously, and then so the map initialization is happening. Actually, it's probably not one of the races, probably something more that it's happening after. We're rendering the page with the backend stuff, and then we're loading maps. So that's when we created. I could try it, but I think like
What if you just did it on connected?
Google Maps or just Google. I think this is probably fine here. Yeah, it's not defined yet.
So what you set up, you were just talking about trying to get it to happen after the await.
So one thing I can do is just create like a it's probably not it's not a stimulus way of doing it, but I could create like a this dot marker locations rules this marker locations for
Google script is null, then two things.
and then just this marker locations push data set latitude set longitude, and then by the time by the time we get into here, I'm guessing this will be populating. Yeah, so that's 25. Now I can use it. Like it's
I've also used values internally. I think it's a pretty nice API because you get the callbacks on it.
valued internally.
Yeah, so a lot of what Stimulus does is it lets you have logic somewhere else, but data live in the view. But I used it, so you can declare the values like you did at the top. But like I said, those can only be set in the view on the same element the controller's instantiator.
So that's only outside. You're talking about inside the controller.
Right, but inside the controller, you still have access to your values. Doesn't mean they have to be hydrated by the view. So you could, like in your target connect, you could say, maybe you have a locations value, which is an array. You just push items into it. And every time you push an item into it, the value changes, so there is a callback.
So it's an actual proper stimulus value that it has.
So you can declare then the function to say, locations value changed, and then do your pushing into your, add your marker there. So everything's happening as a side effect of something, instead of you.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
Declaring it.
I'll see if I can get this sort of working though. For locations. I'm gonna lose the info windows now though, because I don't have all the.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, let's just put markers on the page. And also, like the adding event listeners and stuff in stimulus controllers is a no-no. It's not a no-no, it's just frowned upon. They want you to really handle everything outside because it knows how to clean up after itself.
Oh, like that. You mean like just like general like callbacks, like add listeners. Gotcha. Yeah, it's the same. They're not clickable anymore, but
They're there.
they're there, and we were able to drop the well, actually I did it. Let me properly take this out. That's too much.
So what are you fetching? Why are you fetching your API?
That was to get the locations.
Oh, so now you don't need any
So
of that.
that's what I'm getting rid of. That's
So yeah, so
now that we
you're not doing a double request now too. So that's something.
yeah, I did have to be cleaned up. I was just trying to get the map working. So now we don't even need the double request. Now we're just rendering the markers just the same.
Yeah. So now if you wanted to try the value, now we have that working. So how do we have this now? So you have
unconnect.
Yeah, but I worked a little fast, but I created a marker locations array. And
Okay,
then I'm just pushing an array, latitude, longitude to that.
okay, cool. So
Yeah, this.
now make a value that's an array.
You're saying like marker locations. Now you're saying rank like so.
Yeah, that's a. You have to check the doc. But yeah, I think you get access to a bunch of types. So that will give you marker locations value. So now you can you can just shovel your.
So I don't need to define it as an array initially, right? You're saying I could just
It's just there now, yeah.
Just
It
do
is an
that.
array. So now you're going to say marker locations value push. It's a name, so big V, no dot. Okay, so that's all you're doing. You're just pushing data. So now in another function, you can say marker locations value changed.
Oh, you're saying
It's like right under that.
marker locations value changed.
Yeah.
Does that
And then
have any arcs?
yeah, just put something. It might be the value itself. I don't remember.
And do I have to reference value
No.
down here? Just location.
What's that? Oh, that's your markers?
Yeah.
Well, you're not doing anything with it yet because you just so you'll have to say values. Okay, so that will still work. No, I'm sorry, value. It's marker locations value. And then that is your array that you're mapping. So what are you getting? You get an
Empty.
array with nothing?
That would be the console. There's changed, but it's empty.
interesting.
I wonder if I did change it right. Did it start like that? See it? Okay, so it actually push didn't change anything. It was, I guess this got called on initialization.
Should only fire if the value change. Oh, yeah, it gets fired once on, when it's initialized with the empty value, it is, I think do you put default? Look up the docs for actions. So actions, if you go, class naming conventions, it's probably at the top somewhere. So, oh no, we're on actions, we need values, sorry. So definitions, so string
Right.
object, okay, array. So it automatically parses, so that's fine, but we don't care about that because we're not parsing it into the view.
Right.
We're just dealing with this. So that's fine. I keep going. I believe you can, so you get value equals.
So the setter, I think, is expecting,
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
you have to specifically do equals on it.
Yeah, maybe.
So we could say that, we could say, I mean, then you're kind of,
Maybe pushing it is. Well, try it. See if we can get it to trigger.
value, which should be,
It's equal. No, you just say equals.
oh, actually better. Yeah, we can do that.
You're just setting it to the new value.
Yeah, but it's if you, as a new location gets added, you don't want to replace it, you want to add to it, you want to push to it.
You can make a new array.
So-
You can say equals or location's value.
Equals.
New array, and then
Things, right? It's, for locations. Or yeah, that's how.
Yep.
Is that right?
that I think is right. Yeah, because you want to have a
And-
new.
But it,
You
it's
want a new tuple.
a new one, yeah. There we go.
Okay, so now you got a bunch of arrays.
Curious if that calls, that's interesting, because it called once and then it called,
It calls once with initialization, and then it saw all the data
Right.
come through, and it's doing it every time. So now, in your changed, you could do the thing where you add the markers. See how you're mapping over the markers?
yeah,
You could just, let's see.
that one
Missing.
probably won't work here, because we're gonna be adding it before the map initializes.
Yeah, I guess in that case.
But otherwise, yeah, I agree with that approach, then you're,
So, you shouldn't have to parse anything anymore because you're dealing with data. It's already been parsed.
right, so before these were strings. Which, I think they're still strings, actually. I think their input is strings.
And you could even,
I'll try it, but I think it's, thought there was some reason behind this. Yet, latitude, longitude on it. Yes, latitude is the number. It's just a,
you could add them as objects too. Let's see, how would you do that?
I mean, yeah, I can,
You just set the data like a single data as coordinate and the coordinates as a hash. And it should parse it out to be an object. And you could just say like coordinate dot latitude.
yeah, I hear what you're saying there. Data set latitude. Set longitude. here you're just, probably rename that locations, and then that would be the location itself.
Well, does that work? You got it as an object with lat long.
I moved the lat long, yeah, so it's,
Oh, you moved it, you
Yeah.
moved the naming up, okay. Position, interesting. They reference them as positions?
so they have a lat long object, like they have a specific lat long type in there that you can use. And actually, I think it's, yeah, it's right here actually. So you can instantiate a new lat long with numbers like this, and that's what they use internally. You can also give it a plain object, but it has to have the keys lat and long for LNG.
Yeah, that's fine, I was questioning their naming of
I mean, that could be,
map and position.
I mean, yeah, that could be position here, and then you just
Yeah, that's
simplify that.
what I was thinking. Position.
Yep.
Okay. That's a bummer. You should, when does an index map fire? Who's even calling it?
What's that?
Who's calling that?
That is it. That's from the map target connected. So you create the script tag, and then Google Maps is looking for a function on the window called initMap, and then so I'm just adding that to the window and then responding to it with my own actual initializer. And so I'm waiting for, essentially the DOM is loading with all of our stuff before the map is loading. So if I look at that, you'll see there's our array of, we got all the values, but that all happened before initMap.
Feel like that Dylan and I did something like this with Apple Maps. It was like the same problem. And there's something that we can, it was super simple to do. It took us a while to think of, but yeah, that's it. It waits for it to
Yeah.
be ready.
I wish there was a way to like actually not have to put this on the DOM and just get the script and then run. Because essentially all I'm doing is getting the Google library and then I'm just referencing objects. So one thing I haven't pursued yet is trying to see if the npm package works with import maps. That might work, and then that would nuke all of this, adding it to the adding to the DOM. Because like I'll show.
Just try to pin it.
I'm not sure if this is the same one though. This is
It's by someone.
right. Let's peek. I've never heard that one before. But we could try this. Google Maps loader should be showing us this is like the same. No, that's not right.
I would just do a search, like Google Maps,
The React Google Maps is an Angular.
import map, pin. Like clearly other Rails devs are using Google Maps. That
Yeah.
solves problems.
I understand like is there a Rails?
It's probably not like a Rails thing, but someone's got to have a pin version of it.
22 now.
It's probably
Just say import map.
Oh, 7. Oh, here we go. Sign up. No. Yeah.
That's fine. Flat long passing coordinates. JavaScript.
Yeah, but where are you getting the
Init
JavaScript?
map. Breweries. Map.js. What was that? On map.js. Map. Include.
That's it.
Oh, these are including it on the page.
Yeah, so that's
Do that too.
that's one option. I mean, yeah, you could do that. You could just say, then I have to put the,
Map target connected.
Yeah.
Why do you even care?
what's that?
Why do you care about the target? Like as soon as the controller initializes one time, you should be adding that JavaScript to the page. Because there's initialize and connect.
You're talking about the top here?
So
This?
you're creating a script and you're appending it to the head a few times. So you're loading the JavaScript there.
Yes.
So you want to get that in as soon as possible.
Right, so I could put, so there's a callback that it tries to run now. So like I have to have like it ends up being like a race between is the controller loaded or not. It's like this function has to be there when this function calls, then
Init map. Why? You should be able to init
just
maps all the time without worrying about the JavaScript being loaded.
right. Do I even need that? Yeah, so essentially I'd like
Oh,
to
your
do-
callback you're saying is init map.
Do I even need the callback though?
Loading is async.
Because I'm just I wonder if I even need the callback.
Can you change that?
I mean, yeah, it just wants to.
Places and.
I'm curious though, so I'm actually curious if
Let's get rid of it.
so what will happen here is
You want to control
I want to
when you
control.
init. You don't want that thing to be firing around it.
Right, but I think this is the callback is when the library itself is loaded. So if I were to try just this dot init index map like so, don't do any. Actually, I have to end it there, but thing's gonna race now because it's because we don't have it defined yet. That's what the callback is for. It's when it's done initializing. I'm wondering if I can. Right now I'm doing it. It's loading async.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, just kill all of that. Just make it as basic as possible. And I would move that.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
I would move that to initialize.
You mean like connected?
No, initialize. So initialize fires one time, and connected fires every time a controller. Because you can load a controller multiple times on page.
Control multiple times. Right.
So connected fires every time a controller connects. Same as a target. Initialize only fires one time when the app loads the controller.
You're saying just do all this here.
Yeah, so as soon as you initialize the controller once, add this to the head of the page. So then by the time you're connected, you should be able to fire your other things.
Yeah, I'm still getting it late. So.
But who's complaining? Look, I'm not even talking about
Oh,
initializing.
okay,
Like, don't even do
I
that.
don't do that.
You just like,
It's actually
who cares?
happening.
We just want to add to the head. And then, yeah, so you're declaring the div as where your map is going to go. That's fine. So you could say like, when the map is connected, then go ahead and start rendering.
where exactly did I put it? I put it on, yeah, put it in the document head, so it should be up here, just making sure it's here. Yeah, so there's our Google API
Google APIs.
stuff.
So it's got there.
So I think,
So now in map target connected, just go ahead and fire your init map.
still no. It's loading the JavaScript, but then map target is.
Isn't there a thing that you can do that's like waits for it? Like you can do that in React,
Wait for the,
where just every time you, I guess React, no questions.
I am wondering if I could just,
Yeah, if you put that in the layout, is it still a problem? I don't like this solution because I do think that you should encapsulate your functionality inside the control.
That's what I was
I
going
like that
for.
idea.
but just for, I'm gonna call Google API key. Google API key. And that, and then I won't even worry about the markers or the clustering right now. Actually, just get rid of all this. And then that.
So redoing all this is trying to make it fall into like the standard of the stimulus.
Yeah, it's trying to encapsulate different pieces of it, the way the library wants. So you could have easily just written it as a single function script too.
Yeah, so the way I originally went down that path, working on another side project, I using Google Maps, and only 2 pages actually use the maps, and so by having it in the application in the head tag like that means you're loading it every time on every request. I'm only using it in 2 spots, so to load it on other pages is just a waste of requests, a waste of time.
Okay, so you guys are trying to make it more efficient. Not
Yeah, so just encapsulate in the, since we're using these stimulus controllers, trying to, it'd be nice if like all that was encapsulated in here, but.
You were talking about React, about how like it doesn't change the page, it just loads the one elements.
Well, anytime something changes, it tries to re-render.
Yeah.
And so that's why you can do things like returning a null unless something is loaded, because the next time it tries to change, it would be, and then it would get.
Because I never used Ruby or Rails. Figured I'd come here and learn a little bit more.
I don't know, this is asynchronous, but.
Oh, yeah, could you async, like on connected, could you async the variable and just await until it's populated? Or could you, even if you do something dumb, like loop until Google is a thing?
You just set timeout, yeah,
Maybe that was the stupid way we did it.
put it in. like you put it in initialize, but then you create a set timeout within that, and then
Like every few milliseconds,
just check
check
to see if the thing exists.
until, yeah. That was probably what we did. That's so dumb, it's simple. It's usually a simple solution for us, but.
So how many times are you guys gonna check? Like, you're gonna put a delay on each one, each time you check it?
I wouldn't do like a back off or anything like that, but you probably should have also a max, like so that doesn't go on forever.
Or,
But it's, I don't know, it's not a huge deal.
Are you gonna while it has no value?
Yeah. Like that would be a super dumb implementation, like just keep looping until this has a value.
Yeah, no.
If it never has a value, then the page is broken anyway, so who cares?
Getting there. No,
What is it?
we might not have a map yet, actually.
So where are you doing, you're doing it?
So I tried moving into our value change, where we have our values and then just iterate through the values. And, I don't need to do the let here, I'm just trying to, but I bet you don't even have a map yet. Yeah, so that's the issue. I have to wait for the.
And that's because, so you did the map connect, you're saying in an index map. I'm thinking connected. Like the controller connected. I feel like we can halt something. That was charged.
So you're talking about checking for values. The point they're looking for the map being initiated, could they do an if there, if map not initiated, then run that async again?
Yeah. But so if we do it on one of those functions, like the connected functions, those are happening because of a side effect, which means it's already happened, so we're already too late. That's why I'm thinking if we can halt the whole process and connect it until Google is loaded and then allow the controller to continue on, then you would have your value.
Did you set the function and call it in the async await initially, or are you trying to initialize it, or just
Maybe check the docs for like the root controller callbacks. Let's see how controllers. So properties, modules, identifier, scopes.
Looking for callbacks.
These callbacks, lifecycle, data collections. Triggering behavior when the controller is registered. Okay. If you want behavior once, you can add static after. Oh, never heard of that. After. Interesting.
So here's the code to register, so you can.
Even if no controller elements exist with DOM, function will be called bound to the original controller. 2 arguments. No, I don't think that's what we want. Cross controller, no, we're not dispatching. So detail. No, that's the new. Oh, well, that's not new, but the outlets is the new thing. Okay, so there's lifecycle. So there's connect, initialize, and connect. So see how the first time it's instantiated, it gets the initialize, and then every time the DOM sees it, it will fire connect. You moved the head load to initialize, right?
No, I completely took it out. It's in the head.
Oh, you put it in.
But
You
the
actually put it
actual
in the head.
static. Yeah.
Controller's going to do it. It'll come to me at like 1 in the morning.
That's
but
Yeah, I think like,
pretty close.
if I were to dig into this further, which I might, cool to get this into like an import map, so you don't have to even do all this stuff with the waiting for it to load and then like.
I mean, that doesn't really change anything. Having it pinned would be no different than you just adding it to the head there. That's all it's doing. It's just loading it.
Yeah,
So it always.
well,
will
it
be
improves what we were working on earlier, we're like trying to delay everything until it's loaded. Because we're trying to load it with the controller as opposed to before the controller.
Yeah, but the import maps are all just being loaded remotely anyway. So
It's really behind the scenes doing the same thing, it's just loading.
it's not. It's
Okay.
loading from. I forget. It's some like CDN. So when you pin something, it's actually coming from this CDN. It's not compiling it anywhere.
Gotcha. So is the CDN like just like a translation of
Yeah,
the
I don't, they do, there's like some additional, it's almost like a wrapper, I think, that goes around the actual NPM library.
Yeah, I wondered that. I've tried a few things. I was looking at like a photo gallery, like what do you call it, a carousel library, and brought that in, just completely was dead, it just didn't work. But other things work perfectly fine. So I was wondering like how the translation worked on that.
Let's see. Closed. External libraries. Import. Using a CDN location for jQuery grants access to the entire NPM catalog via import nodes. That's weird. So Google doesn't have their crap in NPM. You have to
JSPM.
JSPM. That's the name I was thinking.
That is.
Uh,
It just completely froze my
generate. Oh, that is. You probably should.
Firefox is better. Yeah, Firefox is perfect. See, hold on. Oh, I'm gonna annotate. That's why. Never mind.
I thought you broke Firefox.
I thought this JSPM thing broke Firefox. Probably jspm.io. No, yeah, can't type. Yeah.
Rails import map. Pin Google Maps.
Does this replace NPM?
No, it works with NPM.
Oh, okay. This is new to me.
Yeah, so
It
it's,
says there's a stimulus controller called Places Autocomplete that does Google Maps stuff. Probably look it up. Oh, it's one of the stimulus components.
that sounds like a component. It might be split out by APIs instead of like this whole.
Go to
Google Maps.
stimulus dash components. Just look up stimulus components.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. So this is a library of like some reusable components that's pretty cool. Just go to
Search.
yeah, you can autocomplete.
Places autocomplete.
There we go. So you can just go look at the GitHub and you can see what they're doing. Source, probably.
It's gonna figure out the other docs.
I don't care about the docs, I want to see what they're doing to add.
Oh, PDFs.
So source, probably a single file. Yeah. All right, so
So where they
he's
get
got
Google.
a controller. Da. So initialize.
See, it looks like they already have Google. What does the package JSON look like?
He's pulling
Types.
types.
I don't think that's.
Get it from somewhere. Unless, maybe look at the documentation. Maybe you have to have it loaded ahead of time for the component to work.
So the goal here was to re-render it when there's a change made?
Sorta. So the way stimulus works is
Yep.
it watches and has some hooks that says like when this DOM element is recognized as a target, it knows how to fire some things off. In this case, we wanted to say when we notice a new element come onto the page that is something we're looking for, we know about, go ahead and do something. And that something would be just add a pin to the map.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a re-render, but you're really just adding data that once the map should be loaded. It's the main load that we're.
And you said there's a list or an array that shows how much data is already added there for the pins?
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, we can see that. It's just it's happening.
Is there any way to get it to fire, like if the length of that changes?
I don't think that matters. 'Cause that is working.
Yeah, so that is where,
Getting the data all there is fine.
it's just initiating it right now is tough.
It's the loading the library itself.
Loading the library.
Our work is working fine. It's that because we're getting a remote library, it has to be loaded for the rest of it to work.
So
We're
but
waiting
while
on
you're
that.
awaiting.
Yeah, we're waiting on that.
So is there any, and you're trying to figure out a way to delay your programming for the?
Yeah, like literally, we don't want it to be async. We like want to halt. We want to await on that loading.
Yeah, they just say, I guess this is,
Oh, that's not what they're saying?
yeah, they're saying load the Google Maps in your head. But maybe that's the, I wonder if defer.
Yeah, but they're saying defer. So async defer. Define a callback, call places autocomplete. Wait, define a callback to trigger places autocomplete. So they're dispatching what? Google Maps callback? Which then does what? Oh, I bet you the controller is waiting for that.
That's the callback though, so like,
Oh, init autocomplete.
I had it in that map, they have it autocomplete.
So init autocomplete is probably in the source.
They're saying put it in the window of your application.
Oh, so it calls window init autocomplete, which then we.
Like
then-
we define this, and then we'd say, in our source, we tell it what the callback name is. So then it's expecting this on the window of the app. You don't need this callback if you add the div asynchronously in your DOM. I'm not sure what they mean by that.
You have the div,
So I mean, maybe if you add, so
delay adding the div?
you can add the div in the callback, like you could one, but they're saying you don't need the callback. So understand that one.
So they add the div first, but it's blank, and then they'll like
Yeah,
append it
like,
to the
if you
div?
look at most of
Oh, I see, so go back, down. So they're initializing the controller, but they're also firing an action to say, so data action works anywhere, you don't have to have it like within any particular controller. So that's saying when Google Maps callback, when I see that on window, then fire places autocomplete init. So they're waiting for the Google library to send that so that then they fire autocomplete. So the init autocomplete on inside their library can then start working.
So Google Maps callback window places autocomplete. And it autocomplete is the function of window though, unless it's,
Well, I think they're two different, they're staying the same. So go back up. So they're saying, hey Google, fire init autocomplete when you're done.
which is this.
And then on window, they're defining, hey, when this happens, go ahead and fire a new event called Google Maps callback on window. And then when that fires, that's the one that
That's what they're
the
listening to
library is
here.
listening for.
So you could, you could
So
tell Stimulus
very-
to listen to the, or I guess that they listen to that event, but we respond to the event would say, hey, build the map and then add the,
Yeah,
start adding the pins to
very
it.
indirect. Yeah, you could do all your loading of your data and then just wait until that comes to then say, all right, I've got the data already, just go ahead and shovel it in.
And then on the value change, like, there could be some checking in there to say, like, if we have a map, go ahead and add it. But if you don't have a map, just put it, I guess the list could be sort of a queue, that when the map loads, add everything that's in the queue, and then when you,
Yeah,
so like, if new locations were to come in asynchronously, if it was truly like live like that, then you could still respond to it, because at that point we'd have the map available, and you could just add to it. So there's still some value in there.
so it's a little indirect, but that seems like it would work. That's your homework.
Appreciate the pairing, factoring session.
Yep.